Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights Festival show, brought to you by NetQuest, our French sponsor. I am delighted to be joined by many experts from around the world in this session, where we're going to be talking about the state of our world and asking researchers who are experts in their regional communities to talk to us a little bit about what's happening in their regions, to explain to us kind of from the perspective of people, the perspective of businesses, and the perspective of politics. How are things evolving in their continent? What are the things that we should be all aware about? And how is that shaping the future outlook of their continent? Our first stop of this show is Africa. And we're very excited to be bringing to you three researchers from the continent who've been conducting research, exciting research about the continent, who will be sharing with us some of the insights from their region and to explain to us kind of what is happening on the African continent. I am really pleased to be able to bring to the table Yannick, Serge, and Jumoke, who will be talking to us a little bit about their research that they're conducting from their company's perspective, and we're going to be talking a little bit with them about what exactly is taking place on the African continent. Serge, welcome to the show. Serge, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Serge Mumbu. I'm managing director of Target. Target is a market research company based in Congo, Kinshasa, since 1991. And now we have a lot of clients, but we work not only in DRC, but also in other Central African countries. And we have a global company, but also global agency. We work on for qualitative, quantitative, and desk research study. This is what I can say about me. I'm father, and I have 5 wonderful girls.
Thank you, Serge, and welcome to the show. Yannick, welcome to the show as well. Yannick, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and the research that you've been undertaking?
Thank you, Kim, and Izoma for having us. My name is Yannick Lefang. I'm the founder and CEO of Cassie Insight. So Cassie Insight, it's a research and data company as well, focusing on the African market. We provide reliable data and consumer insight at scale, covering 8 countries at the moment. And so what we do is we survey between 3,000 and 5,000 people in Africa every month. And so all that data is available through a self-serve data platform. And so we basically provide data set to our clients. We've been in business since 2015. And so some of our products are used by some of the financial company, but also some of the African brands in Africa. I'm very pleased to be here to talk about our research and what we've done for COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Yannick, and welcome to the show. And last but certainly not least, Jumoke, welcome to the show as well. Jumoke, can you tell us a little bit about your company and kind of the research that you've been undertaking?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Jumoke Adegbonmire, and I'm from Nigeria. The company is based in Nigeria. And what we do at WillFran Consulting, which is a consultancy, and what we do is we do survey research. We're just a small company, we're just coming up, but because of the skills that we possess as researchers, it kind of looks like we've been around for a little while. So the company was founded in February 2018. And one of the things that we decided from the onset we were going to be doing was doing research, especially in relation to Nigeria, because one of the things, our main vision is to foster a research culture in Nigeria. We feel that there's an existing gap in that, and that's one of the reasons why people do research anyway, to provide a solution to the existing gap in any area. So during this, in February this year, we decided that we were going to start a research survey, but we were initially going to start with the field research. But COVID, fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately, fortunately, made us to launch the second step, and which was the online survey. And, as we continue doing our research, we stumbled upon, Research Choices website, and we decided, what? We're going to release our first online survey measuring the reactions of Nigerians to COVID-19. It's been quite interesting. The results have been quite interesting. looking at the perceptions, the beliefs, and the attitudes of Nigerians towards COVID-19. So I am the principal consultant of WillFran Consulting, and I'm also the founder. And I'm very pleased and happy to be here and to be given the opportunity by Insights Festival to share my insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Jumoke, Yannick, and Serge. And indeed, as Jumoke has been mentioning, we have a website called Research Choices, where indeed companies from around the world have been submitting more than 150 research findings about how people are reacting to COVID-19, how governments are reacting, and how people are accepting those government measures. And so it's a really wonderful research, and I'm so glad that each and every one of your companies has contributed to that research contribution to society. And I think it's really time to jump right into the heat of the session, which is really to talk a little bit about your research and kind of the things that you're learning from that research, and to understand through the research kind of what is the state of Africa, how are African peoples reacting to COVID-19, but also lots of other things which, of course, are affecting the continent. And maybe, Jumoke, I mean, you already hinted that you were conducting some research in Nigeria. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what are kind of the key things that are emerging from your research in Nigeria?
Okay, so one of the things that we realized came up from our research in Nigeria is based on the COVID-19 is that 50% of the people wanted to go back to work despite the total lockdown and the fact that the Nigerian government felt that people were not observing the social distance precautionary measures. The other aspect is that 71% of Nigerians felt that they needed to continue living their normal life, go back to their everyday normal activities. I don't even think there is the issue of the new normal. I mean, if you do ask me, I just think the only thing that has been different for me is that I have to work more from home. And, the offline activities like organizing events, having a face to face interaction, that one has actually reduced over time. And in relation to this is what mostly the perceptions of Nigerians have been. There, we have more percentage of people wanting to go back to work and to keep working. Like half of 50% of people want to go back to work. About 20% want to still observe the terrain or observe the what do I say? People coming out and seeing what would happen if they were to come out and start resuming for work and going back to their normal activities. A small percentage is indifferent. I mean, a small percentage also feels that, there isn't anything like COVID. COVID is just like a wishy-washy kind of scare threat that government is just using to manipulate people. Despite the fact that, Nigerian Center for Disease Control always makes announcements about the deaths and the number of people that have been infected by COVID. But despite that, some percentage of Nigerians even believe that it's fake news. So, this is something we found out in our research at the moment. And we have another ongoing research right now, which we're using to test, mobile and online banking, because that was a big issue during the COVID lockdown. A lot of people who would normally go to the bank and withdraw money could not access that. And then I think even the banks were having problem with some of their apps and things like that. For example, I will use my mom as an example. My mom is in her 80s. And people within that range, they prefer to go to the bank and withdraw their money off the counter. I always used to advise my mom she should do, mobile and online banking. And she said, that's for people your age. But the funny thing, the very week the lockdown was introduced, my mom got on mobile banking and she's enjoying it so much now that she feels a relief that she doesn't have to be going to the bank all the time. So, these are things that, we've observed through the surveys. And unfortunately, the very day that the lockdown was lifted and people were told that they could go to the bank, I mean, you should have seen some pictures. The banking premises. The banking premises. I'm not saying the banking hall. The banking premises some banks had at least like 200 people, all jam packed. waiting to make use of the banking premises. So I think there's just been different reactions from different quarters.
Yeah. And that's it brings me perhaps to Serge. It would be really interesting to hear from you. You know, is the Nigerian experience, the way Jumoke has kind of describes it, and coming out of the research, something which is also shared in Congo, or would you say that it's a very different experience? It's actually happened in your countries, in the country that you've been researching.
Yes, in Congo, what I can say, the attitude of a Congolese people is paradoxical. The large majority of respondents do not perceive the danger of COVID-19. People think that it is not dangerous because they don't see people suffering around them, and they see that it is not dangerous. It's about 60% of people. They don't think it is dangerous, but they change some habits. For example, hand watching and spending on food, watching TV to have news. These trends, they have increased their habits. This is what I can say about change of people. And we also ask people about the vaccine, if they want to take the vaccine or not. About 70% don't want to take a vaccine because they think that they can themselves. They don't believe to the COVID. They think that they can use traditional medicine. And there is some traditional medicine that they can use, so that for them it is not important to have a vaccine. And also they think that vaccine is a maneuver, I can say Western maneuver for a population growing in Africa. They said that they don't think, they think that it will not be a vaccine, but it will be something that they will put in African in order to less the population. And they say that it is not a disease in Africa. This is what I can say about the DRC. And also I can also say that people they don't trust in COVID-19 because of also the attitude of the authorities. We have also our leaders. When they have some activity, you will see a lot of people in the streets. You will see people without mask, and they say that if the leader, if the political leader, they don't use mask, it means that COVID-19 is not something important. This is the global trend that we have in Congo.
And I think your company has been conducting also some Pan-African research a little bit to also kind of compare and contrast. Are you finding as well, like kind of what you're saying and what Serge is saying, this whole question around trust and around whether they actually believe that the measures are happening and whether COVID-19 is indeed a threat or not? Or is that something that you're also seeing?
Yeah, what we've done for COVID-19 is we've basically tracked consumer perceptions and changes since February. When we and just to give you a little bit of an idea of sort of our framework, we looked at consumer insight from looking at consumer confidence, which is an index that we track every month in Africa. And so from then, we then look at things like a fear index that we've also developed as part of the COVID-19 tracking that we're doing. So looking at how concerned are people with COVID-19. Then we looked at how is COVID-19 changing their daily life, and some of the the big global trend that we're seeing, contrasting that with what's happening in Africa. Looking at, okay, what are people expecting from brands in terms of communicating or messaging during the pandemic. Also looking at where do they see the pandemic? Are we at the peak? How far do they think that the pandemic is gonna last more? And also the issue around information and misinformation that basically has an impact on the type of media channel people are using now to get information around COVID. So, to start on the consumer confidence front, we saw a significant drop, across the 7 countries that we cover on a monthly basis of consumer sentiment in around February and March. Basically just showing how the impact of COVID, similar to what we've seen in globally, has significantly impacted Africans from a consumer confidence perspective, and that was it's like a significant drop. I think we were looking at 40% drop across the country, obviously. And so from there, we looked at how concerned are people. Obviously, at the beginning, February, March, as the crisis was hitting Europe and coming to Africa, people started to become more concerned. So we saw the fear index rising slowly from February, March, and then from April, coming down, and that was linked to the lockdown. So as you know, some of the African countries like Ghana, Nigeria, had lockdowns that they basically put on to prevent the spread of the virus. So that had an impact on the fear index, because then people felt that the pandemic was under control. But at the same time, which is a big contrast when you compare what's happening on the continent in Africa and what's happening abroad. The pandemic on the continent is about livelihood. It's first sort of like a financial and crisis before it is a health crisis. And we had, again, across countries, people telling us that they cannot afford basically to stay at home, right? They cannot afford not to go to work. They cannot afford to shop online, because they don't just have the ability to shop online as you would have in other markets. So the big trend about working from home, there was some of that, but I would say for the majority, people still had to go because it was about their livelihood. The big trend about shopping online, we're seeing an increase, slowly, of people willing to basically shop for grocery online, for example. But again, it's not a big trend, because again, on the continent, what people are doing in terms of changing habits is they change the way they shop offline, right? So as opposed to going to the shop all the time, they've reduced the number of times they go to the shop. They've also looked at buying in bulk as opposed to buying the usual quantity that they buy. So that this is some of the changes that we're seeing from a shopping habit perspective. Then when you look at government trust and the ability of the leadership to manage the pandemic, obviously globally there is little trust, I would say, for how the government and the health officials are handling the crisis. But if you look at a country like South Africa, where at the beginning, around March and April, there was a lot of South Africa is one of the countries that had the most stringent lockdown. If you compare with the other countries, and at the beginning, people had a lot of trust, and they were really rooting towards the leadership with these strong measures. But as you can see, South Africa has the highest number of confirmed cases at the moment. Now they also have the highest number of testing, but now people are that trust basically is winding down, right? Because now people are saying, we sort of like, close to the peak or near to the end, but we still see an increase in cases. So these are some of the initial insight that we're seeing with the pandemic. We definitely see the Africa diversity. Not every country is the same. So you definitely see from South Africa to Nigeria to a country like Ghana, who basically had a very strong perceptions at the beginning, but then they all of a sudden had a big spike in cases that had an impact on how people perceive the government and health official reaction to the pandemic.
Thanks, Yannick, and it's really been insightful to listen to all three of you in terms of how diverse the experience has been, but also the very specific context that Africa sees itself. The whole question around trust, whether it's a Western import or not, those types of things are really specific. Now, we spent quite a lot of time talking about COVID-19, the impact it's had on the economy, the impact it's had kind of on the government reactions and the relationship between governments and citizens. But I wanted to also kind of open it up and ask both, all three of you, kind of, are there any kind of emerging themes or topics beyond COVID-19 which your research is showing as being things that we should be looking at in the African continent? And maybe I'll ask Jumoke to begin. I was also noticing that you were nodding your head vigorously as Yannick was speaking. So I guess there's a lot of questions with regards to what Yannick was saying and what your research is showing.
Yes. So what we observed from our research is that there's a population, like the youth population in Nigeria is like between 35% to 40%. And what we noticed in our research is that the young people actually between the ages of 18 to 33, a lot of them have been filling the online surveys that we've been putting out. And it shows that not only do they have a buying power, they also have an opinion, influence, meaning that whatever the government tries to do or whatever is going on in Nigeria, they can create an impact. They have an influence to determine the outcome of issues and incidents that are going on in Nigeria. And one thing we also noticed is that they're eager to give out, or they're eager to give their opinions. They're eager to give a quantification. They're eager to contribute to the quantification and the perception of what is ongoing, weighing on the opinion, give their own perspectives and their own beliefs as to what is going on. Another thing that we also noticed is that there's a high percentage who actually have a master's degree in Nigeria. There's a high percentage of people like that. As maybe as irrelevant as it might seem, but it's also relevant. It shows that a lot of people are actually, unlike some of the statistics that I read in Nigeria, a lot of people are actually educated. A lot of people have actually made the effort, to acquire a second degree. And this must be for a reason, because we noticed that 71.4% said that their finances were affected during the COVID situation, during the lockdown, meaning that there are three things, meaning that one, these people who have acquired a second degree have acquired it for a purpose, which is why it also reflects in when we were asking about the financial household salary range. We found out that people between the ages of 18 to 49 were the ones who had a salary between $500 to $1,500, and meaning that these people are actually have a buying power. Not only do they have a contribution to make to what is happening in Nigeria, they actually have a buying power. And if they have the buying power, then it means that they can actually influence a lot within the country. And another thing that I noticed is that bringing it to the issue of people who have a second degree, I noticed that people are actually obtaining a second degree in order to increase their ability to be able to influence what is happening in Nigeria. The more educated you are, the more elitist you are, the more the more salary you earn. I mean, these are the perceptions or the ideas. The more the more opportunities that are available to you. So that's one thing we noticed, that there's a strong influence that people between the ages of 18 and 49 can actually have in Nigeria, as opposed to what we see, whereby people in their 60s, 70s, 80s are the one ruling the country. Do you see the contrast? The people that have the buying power, who have, who are more, let me say, academically, who have academically attained a higher degree, are not the ones who are actually determining what happens to Nigeria. Meanwhile, they should be the one. On the contrary, it is people who are not the main working class, who are not the ones who have the higher buying power that are actually determining what is happening in Nigeria. I don't know if what I've said has made any sense. I mean, that's what I just think.
It was quite clear. I mean, in terms of I think, there's always this, particularly in the Western world, there is this kind of idea that, it's poor Africa, that has to always be saved. And I think you highlight very much that actually it's a very changing demographic, that there's a very changing aspirations, and that as a result of that, there's things that the brands and governments have to really
Exactly.
reflect. And Serge and Yannick, I mean, do you want to react to that?
Yes, my version, I can say the same about financial situation of people. In Congo, particularly, people don't know how they can survive, because most of people are poor, and they live every day. They have every day to go out to find money, and it becomes very difficult for them to live. And people now are focusing their spending mostly in food and wealth, sometimes also, and transportation. But the price of goods are also increased in the DRC. What I can say, the financial situation is very difficult for people, and people they don't know how they can do. And I can say also for people in Congo, they don't understand how leaders are doing nothing. They don't understand. They say that leaders should help should help people, but there is no help. And we understand sometimes that some in the government are corrupt, and money from for COVID-19 was not used for the riposte. This is what I can say about TRC. I don't know if in Nigeria or in other country we have the same phenomenon, but in Congo, this is what I can say about the situation of people. The future is difficult, but people say, I can give you one expression. Sometimes some people say that they prefer a death of COVID-19 for them. They say that I prefer to go out. I prefer to find people, but if I cannot, I will make sure that I will not death from COVID-19. But I prefer to survive. I need food.
Yeah.
I need money, and it's very important for me compared to COVID-19. What I can say about Congo.
And I think that's a trend that we've also seen on. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the whole point about the work from home, right? Like, work from home is a no starter in Africa, because if you stay at home, you're gonna die from starvation. So people are saying, my chances of going out and dying from COVID is lower than staying at home, because I know for sure if I stay at home, I'm gonna die. And so it speaks to, as Serge and Jumoke was saying about the demographics, the buying power. And so some of the trends that we're also seeing in terms of, despite that, right? And some of the trends that we're seeing in terms of what people are expecting brands to basically do. Interestingly enough, things like promotions and sale doesn't come on top. People are expecting brands to innovate around this pandemic issue. So you're going to see brands that have been able to repurpose their manufacturing to manufacture PPE. Brands that have been able to, let's say, for example, there's a company in South Africa who is used to be a flour delivery company. And because of the lockdown, flour was not like an essential, but they turned that delivery infrastructure to start delivering food, and became relevant for the pandemic. So it's people are really expecting, and that comes really on top. They're really expecting brand to be innovative in the way around this COVID-19, and in terms of looking at essential versus non-essential, right? So when we look at we have a category index or category momentum where we basically looked at all category across, and asking people whether they're looking to purchase more or less of this category. And we have this graph at the beginning of the pandemic that clearly shows the spread between the essential and the non-essential. And so interestingly, and it goes to what Jumoke was saying earlier, things on things like airtime and data, right, was actually first within the essential category before even the cleaning product, the sanitizer and all that. And obviously on the other spectrum, you had like the entertainment, the beauty, and that basically were on the other spectrum. So that was at the beginning of the crisis. But because we're tracking this month over month, we're seeing already a shift where some of the non-essentials are now turning positive, meaning because and then again it's the difference between the context or the environment of COVID-19 in Africa and what's happening elsewhere. Because in Africa, people have to live with COVID-19, right? So there is already a life with COVID-19 in Africa. And it shows with the data where you can see already that some people have started to now spend on non-essential, right? Because they have it's almost a no-brainer. You have to live with COVID, and as Serge was saying, you can basically trust your government to do much for you. You can't really trust your health system to do much for you because how many ventilators do we have in Africa? So how many so you have to rely on traditional remedy to basically boost your immune system, right? And then you have to basically rely on your own means to make a living. So these are some of the trends that we see. Digital is also one of them, which is interesting because as Jumoke was mentioning, COVID-19 and all the issues around preventing the virus, which means cash now is becoming less attractive, right, to people. So a company that now start innovating around everything digital, so remote working, we have businesses now that have to basically think about how do they work remotely, right? And so we think that digital is going to get a boost from the pandemic, and some areas that were not sort of impacted by COVID by digital will be in the future.
Thank you, Yannick. And I think this really opens us up for almost the final question, which I have for you, as the time is ticking by very quickly. And it's really from all three of you, in essence, kind of what is the future outlook for Africa? And I think Yannick has already started to open up some ideas and perspectives for brands and for world leaders to be thinking about. But I'd be curious from yourselves, we always hear that Africa will be the next Asia, and it's always this year is going to be when Africa is going to become the next Asia, is going to be the new powerhouse, and every year it doesn't quite happen, and then we're always wondering, so maybe it's next year. So I'd be curious to kind of get a sense, do you feel that from the research you conducted that we're on the cusp of of an improved Africa, or do you think actually COVID-19 has really put a damper on it, and actually the issues have changed and shifted elsewhere? Serge, do you want to take this lovely question nice and easy?
Yes, according to me, I think that the big problem of Africa is leadership. We have a problem of leadership, and it could be very interesting that the problem that we have we should ask some question and also find solution. For example, how people will have food, because if I take the case of DRC, most of food comes from abroad, so that now it is difficult. The borders are closed. We don't know how we can take food, and I know that in the future we have some problem. According to me, I think it will be an opportunity to to see how we can develop agriculture in our country, and also we should also focus on the research, how to transform some products locally in Africa. It could be interesting instead of taking product abroad, and so invest in education. I don't know if in Nigeria, but in Congo, we find a lot of educated people in the urban city, but in rural city, most of people are not educated, and they don't know what is happening in the world. So that it is important that we invest in education. And I appreciate what Yannick say about the internet. We made a survey on media, and now the trend of internet is growing very, very fast in our country. It could be interesting to see how we can make innovative solution using internet. On delivering, I think it could be interesting for company to use it. According to me, we have a lot of ideas in Africa, but the big problem is the leadership. We don't know. We don't have in country a lot of leaders that can help Africa to become the next Asia, as you are saying. According to me, I don't want that it will remain always a slogan that Africa is rich, Africa is the next Asia, but we don't see we don't see the reality because of the leadership. Yes, Jumoke.
Well,
okay. This is what
I'm
I
gonna
can
say
say.
what I was. Well, I don't think it's gonna be a slogan based on what I said initially. That 35 to 40% of people in Nigeria are youths, and to be honest, even during this COVID time, some new businesses have actually sprung up. Despite the COVID incident, because, like I said, these are the ones between the ages of 18 and 49. They seem to have the buying power, seem to be earning more money in relation to people below that age gap. I may be wrong, but that is what the survey seems to be saying, that these are the ones that are actually either earning money, working more, having more, being more online, knowing what is going on, having a wider perspective about what is obtaining. And the truth is that a lot of SMEs are actually being founded and run by young people. So if that continues to happen, and if it's happening the way it's happening in Nigeria, I don't believe it's going to be just a slogan. I believe that this is going to continue to bolster as time goes on. More young people are going to start creating businesses, and obviously they're going to start trying to attract more investment into Nigeria. And in the process, obviously, there will be more people to employ, and obviously there will be more money in circulation. That's what I feel, though, from what we're reading. And as relation to the government, obviously 50% of Nigerians are pessimistic that the government can actually take care of them, which brings us back to the fact that we need to look at individuals. What are the individuals doing in order, to make sure that there's a soft landing as regards everything that is happening, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's being creative, whether it's being innovative. So I believe that young people are actually like taking the reins of, like, taking charge to make sure that things are running smoothly despite the pandemic, or that things continue to go on as they should. I don't think that the young people in Africa are actually looking up to the leaders again to actually take control and be in charge. I may be wrong, but I think that is what is happening. I think a lot of young people are actually trying now to be innovative, to be creative, and to take charge, whether individually or by being co-independently with other young people.
Jumoke, it's really,
I mean,
I'm really self-starter, the self-reliance,
yeah.
that when you really, there's a huge mistrust of governments and institutions, but at the same time, this feeling that we can take charge, and if we work together and if we start ourselves, we can create solutions. You wanted to jump in, feel free.
And by the way, just along the same line, it's worth reminding people that the informal sector in Africa is still about 70 to 80% of some of the economies. And with that informal sector, as they call it, I don't like to call it informal sector, but a lot of that is driven by employed young people, going out and starting. And so I would agree, if we had, better leadership, we could turn this, into something even bigger and a bit more structured. And so you're going back to whether Africa is going to be, the next Asia. I think the answer is yes, if, right? So, and one of the things that, we see with the research, as researcher, right? Like you can manage what you can measure. And that's the first thing. So the whole concept of us being Asia, like, where do we start? How far do we have to go to become Asia? Because until we actually answer this question, there's no we're gonna be this, we're gonna be that. The only thing you can be is what you see in the mirror, right? Because you don't know where you're starting. So I think at the individual level, as well as at the leadership level, there needs to be a renewed sense of, we need to really understand what's going on, right, to be able to make decisions and to be able to make informed decisions. So I'll give you one data point. So we've been tracking consumer confidence in Africa, and also consumer confidence in other parts of the world, right? In April, consumer confidence in Africa, right, so like the 7 countries that we're tracking, and in the US reached the same level. This is the first time we've seen this in 4 years that we've been tracking consumer confidence in Africa. What does that mean? It means that at that point in time, when you look at the economy in the US and you look at the economy in Africa, from a consumer perspective, they were no different. And the reality is, in America, you had 30 million people that all of a sudden lost their job, right? And you had basically massive disruption of businesses, which is similar to what we see in Africa, but on a more frequent basis, right? But that data point shows you that at that point in time, if it was a race, we would start at the same time as the US. And that's the reality of disruption. So disruption like COVID-19 offers an opportunity for Africa to actually reset and actually be bold. And that's the next point I want to make is we need to be bold. If you think about the free trade continental agreement with the continent, it's a $3 trillion opportunity. Forget about doing business with other parts of the world. Just within the continent, that is over 3 to 4 trillion business opportunity. Making food, growing food in Nigeria and selling it to Cameroon, growing food in the DRC, and getting mineral resources in DRC to manufacture phones for a market in South Africa. That opportunity alone can make everybody Africa the next champion. I'm not going to say that we can even be better than Asia. So I think there is an opportunity to be bold. There is an opportunity to again innovate, and by innovate I mean leverage research. And again, I'm a bit biased here, but a lot of innovations in Africa are not born out of Africa. And that's the problem. If you look at a lot of our industry, the banking industry, you name it, other than, the digital, the M-Pesa in Kenya, which is an innovation that was born out of, the continent, which became, a super, powerhouse, give me another case where we truly have, innovation that's from within the continent. So businesses, brands really need to work with researchers to really understand the market and innovate for that market, right? And the same thing that's been happening with COVID. What are some of the trends that are going to stay, and how do we innovate to make sure that we stay on top of these trends and we actually meet the consumer where they are, and avoid the tendency to copy and paste. Again, one of the big themes that we saw with COVID is that if you were to look at the global trends and try to apply them in Africa, you're going to be completely wrong. Because stay at home does not work in Africa. Online shopping does not apply to Africa. Health crisis does not apply to Africa, right? So you really need to look at the continent and really innovate from within, to make Africa the next Asia.
Yes, and what I can add about what was saying Yannick about an emergent idea is COVID-19. I can say that it increased the pride of being African. I think that most of people now in Africa, they are saying that we win COVID-19, but Europe and America don't win COVID-19. We are a strong people. We are a big continent. I think that to be proud of Africa is something very interesting. It is an emerging idea now in Africa, and I think that most of people say that it is time for Africa to wake up. Now time to wake up, and people also say that we know that we don't have good leader, but if they continue, they will go out. I think that we can have some, I can say some revolution in Africa. I say what's happening in Mali. I cannot say that it is interesting to have a military government, but it shows that people are now conscious that Africa, we can wake up. Now Europe and America, they are most concerned on COVID-19. We don't have COVID-19 in our continent, and we can now take a part. But it is now a local initiative, especially about young people. And I know that the trend will go, and we can have some revolution in some country, and some leader can have opportunity to go out. This is what I said about the emerging idea in Africa.
So unfortunately, it's almost at the end of our session. We've been hearing a lot about different things, and Jumoke, I just wanted to kind of ask, do you have any kind of final remarks before we close the session?
Okay, so my final remarks is just in support of what Yannick said, that, online shopping. So from our survey, we realized that only 25.2% would be interested in paying for their groceries delivered to their house during the lockdown, or even post-COVID, or during the transition period from lockdown to releasing the lockdown restrictions. And you would tend to be surprised, because you would think that people would prefer that their items are delivered to them just in order, to ensure their own safety and also abide by the health precautionary measures. But unfortunately, just 25% of the population, or from people we surveyed, are just interested in paying for online groceries delivered to their house. So you see the trend in which how much people, or how far people want to take precautionary measures, and how relaxed they are, about just going about their normal activities in spite of the restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jumoke. And Jumoke, Yannick, Serge, I just want to thank all three of you for the wealth of insights that you've been giving us with regards to the African continent and the state of the world from an African perspective. It's been really interesting to hear from you guys kind of how COVID-19 has impacted the continent, how self-confident the continent is regardless of what's happened, and how much potential there is on the continent, and how much entrepreneurship is actually taking place, whether it be in the formal or informal economy. So I just wanted to thank all three of you so much. I hope that you've enjoyed the show. We will be stopping in different regions around the world, learning from experts about kind of what their research is revealing about their continents. Jumoke, Yannick, Serge, once again, thank you so much. And if you're interested in finding out more about the Insights, join us on the Insights Festival at smr.org, where you can register and attend lots of different sessions where a wealth of insights is being given by the Insights community for the benefit of the world. Thank you so much for joining us, Jumoke, Yannick, Serge. I hope to see you again. I wish we could spend some time to unpack what's happening in Africa. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Goodbye.